Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy of September 2021. We're going to take a look initially at the energies that may surface for the collective, which we're all a part of, and then we'll take a deeper dive into your personal life path number. So let's go ahead and get started. So September is a 14-5 energy, which of course boils down to a 5 energetic cycle. But that 14 is influential, okay? So we need to keep that in mind, and I'm going to touch on the energies of the 14 as we move through the reading. But ultimately, this is a 5 energetic cycle. So we have a 5 universal year that we're currently moving through in 2021. And now that 5 energy is enhanced by a 5 universal month. So we can expect great changes that occur abruptly and without much notice. So if ever there were a time to be flexible and full of grace for self and others, it's during a 5 universal year coupled with a 5 universal month. So buckle up, baby, because it's about to get bumpy. But in a good way. Okay, so things under a 5 energy move very, very quickly because it's a fast-moving energy, right? So you may see incredible shifts and transformations within your life at this time. You may never have even seen these shifts coming, right? They just seem to come out of nowhere. This energy can sort of see people completely uprooting or changing their entire life story within the blink of an eye. This energy can often feel like a sort of greater power or higher power is sort of taking the wheel and taking over, and life is almost happening to you. Generally, where this ride takes you will lead you to the realization of, oh wow, I never would have thought to do that or to be this, but I'm so glad that I did, right? So it's like, again, it's like this higher power swoops in and hits fast forward on the story, and where you end up, you ultimately realize is a perfect place for you at that time, if that makes sense, right? So that realization may take some time to get to, but understand that when these big shifts come in, they come in to assist, not to penalize. This isn't vindictive energy, it's transformational. Both can feel incredibly challenging, right? To go through. So when someone's being vindictive, that's a challenging energy to go through. When you're going through some kind of transformation, that is also incredibly challenging at times. So however, the transformational energy will leave you in a better place from where you started. So you just need to keep that in mind. Whatever challenges you face, whatever you're going through, during this 5 energy that is transformational will leave you in a better place than where you started, okay? Even if it takes a little bit of time. So try not to fight this energy, but rather move with it and work with it the best that you can, okay? So speaking of the 14, remember I said 14 is going to have an influence in this energy because it's the influencing number to the 5. So under the influence of the 14, there's this emphasis placed on modification. So life may feel like it's happening to you at times, but you can always find ways to modify or work with the energy to make it work for you without fighting it. It's very possible that the modifications that come up for you at this time to be explored or, expanded upon are modifications to self, to relationships, to career, and to lifestyle that have needed to be adjusted for a while. So this isn't necessarily going to blindside you or be surprising, although for some people it might be, right? It might be one of those things where you're sort of stuck in your comfort zone, stuck in a relationship that's toxic, stuck in a belief system or a lifestyle that's toxic, and you don't realize that it needs to be modified or changed. So it might blindside you, right? It might come in quite swiftly and abruptly, and those modifications might be made. And again, it could feel like a whirlwind. But for the most part, these are going to be things where you kind of knew, you had some kind of a sense that they needed to go away, they needed to change, they needed to be modified, right? And chances are you've known that for a while. So this sort of double dose of 5 energy this month from the 2021 Universal 5 cycle year, and now this September 5 energy, is simply giving you the gentle shove in the direction you need to be facing, right? So that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean it's going to be without its challenges. However, the struggles and challenges that you face and overcome during this time, or at least they're initiated during this time, through these modifications, will prepare you greatly for the magnificence you're about to step into, right? So again, it's like, it can feel challenging in the moment, but you just have to keep in mind, why is this happening? Why is this coming in? What is this challenge trying to show me? Try to ask yourself as often as possible, what is this challenge trying to show me? What am I meant to learn? Right? Why is this modification coming in now? Where is it trying to take me to, and why is it trying to move me beyond the space, right? Because there's always going to be, an answer there. There's always going to be wisdom to extract from that experience, no matter how challenging. And oftentimes the more challenging, the more wisdom to pull from it. So it's the wisdom of the experience that we're meant to carry with us, not the experience itself, right? Sometimes we get stuck up on the experience where we're like, oh, that really sucked, and now I'm going to think about it and complain about it and, sort of fret about it for the next 10 years. Whereas really what the universe is trying to get us to do is to extract the wisdom from that challenging experience and move freely forward, as opposed to trying to lug that whole experience with us forward and sort of replay it, rehash it, hold a grudge, whatever the case may be. So this is going to be a really quick moving, fast energy, with a lot of transformations, right? And so through that experience, not only are we meant to move ourselves through it and adapt, but we're meant to pull the wisdom from the experience, okay? So a lot going on this month. It's a very intense month. It's a very intense year, right? So I don't really see things slowing down until we get into 2022 at least, right? So if you're looking for a breather, you're probably not going to get it right away, but that's okay, because we're all in the same boat. This is universal energy, so we're all feeling this, baby. So again, proper handling of this 14-5 energetic vibration can produce great wisdom and understanding in your experience. 5 energy can be that of again, a testing nature. It's going to test us. It's going to sort of force us to take a closer look at the challenge, the situation, the modification, and where can we extract the wisdom. It's what we choose to do with this energy that will ultimately determine our overall experience, not only now, but moving forward. And so again, we have a lot of responsibility, but with great power comes great responsibility. So a 5 energetic cycle is also a perfect time to sort of check in with yourself. This is a checkpoint. See where any imbalances lie. What's working? What isn't? Where do I need to make modifications? What do I need to invest more into? So in numerology, where 1 energy is the beginning or the initiation, and 9 energy the completion or the ending, 5 energy sits in the middle, and it's the checkpoint. It creates the space and the opportunity to make the necessary changes needed before continuing on in the journey, to make certain that the direction we're moving in is the direction we actually want to be a part of, right? You don't want to get all the way to the 9 energy and be like, oh crud, I should have switched directions way back at that 5 energy. And so a lot of times the 5 energy doesn't force our hand. We always have choice, right? But it will make things very challenging or uncomfortable to help you see what you need to see, right? And so think of this as the checkpoint. This is why we can often see so many intense and abrupt changes, occur during a 5 cycle, because some of these changes we choose, Some with, some of those changes are created for us by a higher power, but all serving to keep us aligned with our soul's highest mission in this lifetime. So the ego craves safety, security, comfort, and the known. The soul came here for so much more, right? If something feels as though it's being uprooted now, taken away, or there's a sense of upheaval, understand that true change is messy and chaotic at times, but on the other side of that chaos sits harmony, sits balance. So we can also see this playing out on the world stage quite dramatically at this time. So much change has to happen at this time in history, and it's during a 5 cycle that it can appear to be the most chaotic and the most messy. So by dismantling that which is no longer working, that takes some level of destruction and chaos, right, before the calm can enter. So that which is being dismantled often won't go without a fight, but it'll eventually lose steam and recede, right? And that's kind of, like I said, that's what we're seeing sort of play out on the world stage. We really started to see that in the 4 cycle of 2020. And now it's really coming to accumulation during this 5 cycle of 2021. And so I suspect that in September, we're going to see even greater manifestations of that chaos, of that dismantling, of those changes. Maybe not the change happening right away, but where it's highlighted where the change needs to happen. It becomes the front and center. There's no more denying it, right? So this 5 energy will ultimately teach us that the less we resist the change, the more comfortable the process of the change will feel and become. The more we resist the modifications and try to cling to what's no longer needed or no longer working, especially when it's harmful to ourselves or others, then the messier and the more challenging the experience becomes for all involved. So 5 energy teaches us to be flexible, to be adaptable to the inevitable changes and transformations that, it brings into our lives and that we ultimately face throughout our journeys. So allow September and this 5 energy to show you where modifications are needed within your life. Allow whatever changes that sweep in, to highlight for you where something was no longer working and needed an overhaul. If these changes aren't happening directly to you, perhaps you can hold space for those who find themselves immersed within this 5 energy. Perhaps you'll need to be the one creating the change in another person's experience, right? And so regardless, move as gently as possible and take full advantage of this incredibly transformational energy. It's here to help us with swift precision. So keywords this month to keep in mind as you move through this energy, perhaps it can be your mantra, is modification and adaptability. What do I need to modify and how can I be adaptable through the modification? Because I can almost guarantee that there's going to be a lot of modification either taking place this month or highlighted where it needs to take place. And then we're going to start to see that happening. And so the more adaptable that we can be, the more open we can be to the change, the more comfortable the experience will be, and the more that we will gain from the experience. Okay? All right, let's take a closer look at the life path number. Okay, life path number 8. So I pulled an animal spirit card for you all, and you got fox spirit. And so what's interesting about this energy is the picture depicts the fox in a wintry, snowy scene where everything is sort of dormant, everything's covered up, and he's hunting. Okay, like if you've ever seen a video of a fox hunting in the winter, and they do they jump up and then they sniff around, that they find, they listen or smell the prey under the snow, and then they jump up really high and then they go straight down into the snow, and most of the time they get the prey, they get their food. And so this is really this energy of, this is going to be a time where you need to use all of your senses. because what you need, or sort of the resources, the tools, what you need, or what's sort of coming in for you isn't necessarily going to be easily recognized, if that makes sense, right? So this is going to be a month where you need to use your intuition very strongly, because there's going to be these illusions that are taking place in the 3D world for you, where things are not always as they appear, right? Like it may look like something's happening one way, but under the surface, something else is happening, right? Like if the fox was only relying on its sight, it would never eat in the winter, because there's no food for them above ground, right? Unless it just happens to be there's an animal walking above ground, but usually they're in their little burrows, right? And so like the bunnies and the mice and stuff are in their burrows. And so if the fox only used its sight, its physical sight, and relied on what it could see, it would miss out, right? It would be losing nourishment. And so I think there's a bigger message here for you eights, where it's like, this month is going to be a month, I think, where the wisdom, the what you need, the resources, the tools, you're going to have to find them a different way. You're going to have to use your intuition, your, other senses to be able to uncover sort of the truth of the matter, right? Of like, or what you need to be able to continue to move forward, or to build whatever it is you're trying to build, or to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. But the key is like, the universe is basically saying, like, don't be sort of misguided by the 3D quote unquote reality, because that's not the full picture. That's not the whole story. There's more happening behind the scenes. And you'll become privy to that information when you need to be. But you have everything that you need right now to be able to move forward, to be able to create whatever it is you want to create, to be able to have the infinite abundance, to be able to have the success, whatever, right? Like, yes, you have to put in the effort. Yes, you have to initiate whatever it is. But I think it's also this message of like, don't get caught up in the illusion of the 3D reality, because there's so much more at play. There's so much more going on. And so this is going to be a time, I think, this month especially, for you to really trust, like take the initiative, right? If you feel the spark to do something, take the initiative, but then surrender to the universe, right? To your higher consciousness, whatever, to guide you to the next step, right? Understanding that it's all part of a bigger plan, if that makes sense, right? Like, because the fox just instinctively knows that there's something more beneath the surface, right? There's something there for him. And he's willing to take the risk, and he's willing to use his senses to get it, right? To get the reward. And so again, I think it's going to be really important for you, and especially for eights, right? Like eights, you're very in the physical plane. You are very much, you govern the material world, but you're also meant to be connected to spirit, to source, to a higher consciousness, because that's what lifts you up when the physical reality disappoints you, or when the physical reality falls apart, right? It's that spiritual side that lifts you back up to keep you going, that keeps you searching beneath the surface to find what it is that you're looking for. And so I think with Fox, this is just a reminder, you have everything that you need, right? This is all part of a bigger plan. Whatever is going on, this is part of a bigger plan, and it's all going to work out. But you have to be the observer. You need to stand back. You need to use all of your senses. This is going to, it's going to take work. It's going to take effort on your part, but it's also going to take a level of surrender and understanding that what you see, what's actually, what's going on within the physical, what's the practicality of it all is not the full story. Okay. There's little gems of nourishment beneath the surface that you can't see. Okay, so I hope that made sense. But throughout this month, I think it's going to benefit you to remember fox, and not just fox, but fox sort of hunting in the winter. I think that's going to be key because, like I said, he can't see his food. He has to like find it through his other senses. Okay, so I broke the month down for you in 4 weeks. And we start the month off with like sort of polarizing energy, to be completely honest. It's kind of like there's 2 energies that you can contribute to at this time. One is going to be that of collaboration, seeing other people's perspectives, understanding other people's motives, giving people grace, giving yourself grace, right? Like just very more harmonious energy of working together, understanding that we're all on our own journey, that we all have certain needs, we all have certain desires. How can we work together? How can we, compromise, but not over compromise to where we're sacrificing ourselves? You see what I'm saying? So there's this very complementary, collaborative energy that's coming in at the beginning of the month. That's very, very strong, and it's asking you to step into it. Then there's this other polarizing energy that's quite the opposite. It's like win at all costs, my way or the highway, sort of like bulldozing people to get what you want, making others feel like their voice isn't important, or their opinion isn't important, or whatever the case may be. So basically the complete opposite of collaboration, right? Like alienation, like working against each other, or working, seeing other people as sort of the antagonist, right? Or, the ones who are causing you the problem type thing, as opposed to figuring out how to work together to get to a solution. So you could see relationships come into play at the beginning of the month. This feels like it could be, it doesn't have to be work related. It can be relationships as family, friends, partners, colleagues, whatever. But it's definitely relationship oriented. And the energy is asking you to choose. Are you going to sort of feed into that energy of like, it's my way or no way? Or I'm going to ask these people to sort of sacrifice what they need for what I want, without any leniency. It's sort of that energy of like leading people as opposed to leading alongside of others. Okay. And so anyway, I'm just seeing this energy of like, not necessarily like experiencing both sides of this, but like getting to choose. Which one are you going to feed into? Which one are you going to invest your energy into? The more divisive energy or the more collaborative energy? And, that takes working with people, that takes understanding people and what they need, what they want, and not making assumptions, right? Like having the courage to ask people, what do you need? And having the courage to tell people what you need, right? That's a big component of communication is this is what I need. What do you need, right? And having that conversation. And it doesn't matter if you've known that person for 3 minutes or 3 years. It's a conversation, and it takes the assumption out of it, because when we assume, then we create stories, and those stories may or may not be the reality, right? We go back to fox spirit. So much on the 3D plane is an illusion because of lack of communication, because of, things that are bigger than us working behind the scenes. So assumptions will get us into trouble very, very quickly, especially with relationships, especially with relationships. And so again, I think this is going to be an energy this first week where communication is going to come in very, very strongly. And sometimes communication isn't comfortable, right? Like you sometimes have to be uncomfortable to have those conversations, and you have to be vulnerable. And so I think you're going to see some opportunities this beginning of the week to have those difficult conversations, to have those to have that courage to, again, state what you need, and to understand that there's a difference between what you need and what you want. What you need, you should never sacrifice for, right? You should never compromise on. What you want is a desire, and desires change. And so, of course, if you feel like you can compromise on those desires, then do so, right? And be accepting of other people not wanting to sort of compromise or sacrifice their needs. They shouldn't have to. But with their desires, understand that whether or not they want to compromise. You see what I'm saying? So really strong energy first beginning of the month with, again, communication, collaboration, just kind of like understanding and grace, right? Like giving yourself grace, giving others grace, and communicating and choosing which energy you want to feed into, because that will ultimately create the experience for you, good or bad, right? Comfortable, uncomfortable. So definitely a lot of relationship energy coming up that first week. Second week, this is interesting because I feel like there's something that is going to come in for you that is a huge opportunity or a big creative opportunity, an opportunity to maybe travel, an opportunity to try something big, new, way outside your comfort zone. But there's also this level of like self-doubt coming in, imposter syndrome coming in, you talking yourself out of it because you don't feel like you deserve it, or not being able to see how it can kind of transpire. So it's like maybe a big opportunity presents itself, and before it can even get off the ground, you start having that dialogue with yourself that's like, this could never happen, this is too good to be true, this is too much, I can't see how this could ever happen. You know what I mean? I don't deserve this. You insert here, right? And so you just need to kind of work through that lower self energy of those self-defeating thoughts, right? Change the thought process. And just take the risk. I feel like this is going to be something where you need to take a risk. And this is 5 energy that we're in, right? So we got a 5 universal year and a 5 universal month. This is a lot of 5 energy. There's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of shifts in direction, a lot of modification. And so I feel like for you, this is an opportunity to make a pretty tremendous modification in a situation. And this feels like creative, right? This could be like a journey. This could be like the path that you're on. You may completely shift gears, right? You may change direction entirely. You may just completely change your story. And that's very possible at this time. The only thing I can see like that would really hold you back is yourself. You talking yourself out of it because you just invested a lot of time into whatever this is, a lot of resources, a lot of money, whatever. And so I couldn't possibly change directions now. Yes, you can. And you're actually being asked to by your higher consciousness, right? By your soul, by the universe. If you do, it will bring you immense gratification, right? But again, it has to feel true for you. It has to feel like this is what you want. And so I would just say this around the second week, pay attention to what comes in, the inspirations, the ideas, the dreams, what somebody says to you that creates a spark, a creative spark or interest, right? Like, ooh, I want to explore that. Maybe somebody moves overseas and they're like, hey, I want you to come be my roommate for 6 months, right? That is a huge, outside your comfort zone, change the story right now situation. And instead of being like, oh no, I can't do that because I have, and then you have a laundry list of the reason why you can't do that, maybe sit with it for a little bit, right? This could be an awesome opportunity for you. Don't shoot it down so quickly. Mull it over, see what you think, see how you feel. Take the practicality out of this one. Like, yeah, you still gotta live in the 3D realm, right? So if there's, bills have to be paid and that sort of thing, yeah, I get that. But if there's even like an ounce of possibility that you can entertain whatever this is, entertain it. See what happens. See where it takes you, because this is going to be a month where anything, any shifts, any modifications, any change in direction that creates a spark of interest is going to be supported. This is really big energy. So I would say pay attention to the reasons why you're telling yourself you can't do whatever this is. And it doesn't have to be that extreme, right? It can just be as simple as like, I don't know, I don't know, I can't come up with an example right now, but it can be it can be much simpler than moving overseas type thing. But just pay attention to why you're telling yourself you cannot do it, because there's going to be something there that probably needs to be worked through, right? And if you can do it, take the risk, because I think that it's going to be support. I think it's going to be good for you if it feels aligned. Then we move into the third week, and this is interesting because it's like whatever this kind of like opportunity was, risk was around that second week, we see like this huge creative energy coming in, like just very supportive creative energy coming in and moving through you and bringing you just a tremendous amount of joy and happiness. It's almost like a big solution comes in at this time, but it's something obviously that you're going to be a part of, because you are the creative life force behind all of this, right? And so it's kind of like the second week is asking you to take the initiative. You take the initiative, and then you're going to sort of see all of this sort of come together. Now, you might not see it all come to fruition this third week, but you're going to be able to see beyond the illusion. You're going to be able to see that nourishment beneath the snow, right? Like you're going to be able to see how this is like the potential of all of this and where it's leading you to. And it's going to bring you a tremendous amount of joy at the possibility of this, right? So be very open to whatever creativity comes in through you at this time. Inspirations, again, dreams. Someone says something to you that sparks an interest. You hear a song and it creates interest, or you just get an epiphany. Pay attention to all that stuff, because it's going to, whatever comes in for you. And again, write it down, because I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you might get this like lightning bolt of information or inspiration come in at this time and be like, oh, I need to do that. And then something else distracts you or takes your attention away from it. And it's not that you won't come back to it, because I feel like this is pretty profound, but write it down. Write down whatever comes in for you mid-month, second or third week of September, especially third week of September. Write it down and keep coming back to it, because I feel like whatever this is going to be pretty crucial and monumental in your progression forward and in whatever you're building and whatever you're creating. But write it down, because I do feel like this is like this is like kind of the initiation period. I don't necessarily think that it's going to all come to fruition yet, but I think that it's going to bring you some level of satisfaction right now, and it feels almost like a guarantee, right? Like we get those guarantees that's like, okay, this is going to be okay because, and you can kind of see how it's playing out. And so I feel like you could get some really big downloads, big inspirations around this third week that you will carry with you. But again, write it down so you don't sort of overlook it or forget about it or misplace it, if you know what I mean. It'll come back, right? Like it'll keep knocking at the door until you accept. But I think that you're meant to really explore whatever this is. And so, yeah, take note. Fourth week, I feel like the fourth week, this is interesting too, because now we're back to this energy of like collaboration, like working with someone, maybe a partnership of some sort, a leadership role for you in some way where people are coming to you for your expertise and you're sort of the leader in that situation, whatever that case may be. But I also get this energy of like a lot of different choices coming up for you, a lot of decisions to be made. And this is going to be a time where you absolutely have to use your own discernment. You absolutely have to follow your inner guidance and your own inner truth and use your own sort of autonomy to figure out what it is that, again, what you need. And then don't sacrifice that, right? Like stick with what you need. What you want, you can compromise on, right? But what you need, you've got to stand firm on that. And that is going to, when you figure that out, right? Like what do I need? Let's figure it out, right? When you figure that out, it's going to assist you in making these decisions, these choices, right? Like Because again, at the end of the month, I just feel like you may have a lot of sort of opportunities come in or decisions to make. And sometimes, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Sometimes you can get like 4 or 5 really awesome options, right? And you have to make a decision between those options. And even that's challenging because you want all of them. Maybe you can't have all of them. And so again, I think that there's going to be an opportunity for you to make some decisions at the end of the month, that there's going to be various choices. And this is going to be a time where you really have to follow your own truth, like really decide what it is that you want and what you need, and then make that decision or decisions from that space. Right? And I feel like it has to do with money, resources, career, purpose, that sort of thing. It could be relationships, but it does feel like money related or career related or purpose related. You know what I'm saying? So, but it feels like there's a lot of decisions to be made. And I feel like the best way to make those decisions is to remember Fox, use all of your senses, and see beyond the illusion, right? And come back to the truth, which is, what do you need? What do you want, right? What can you compromise on? What are you not willing to compromise on? And go from that space, and the rest will fall into place. Okay, so I hope this was helpful, 8s. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.